so grateful for the work that's being done. And Shira, thank you so much for your vision and your commitment and your generosity and your revolutionary spirit, for your griot nature, for your archaeologist inside, for your sacredness and the way that you are showing up. It's essential, it's timeless, and obviously you are our ancestors' greatest hope. So thank you. I'm really
that was
excited.
super sweet. Can I just say that? Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. That was super sweet.
No, but I mean, you are the griot. You are the griot.
I would have never defined myself as that. That's why I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Well, why don't we start then with you? I was just going to ask everybody on the panel to introduce themselves and tell us why you do the work that you do. So we'll start with you, and then you can pass, and then whoever you pass it to can pass, please. Comfortable with that?
Okay, so you want me to say why I do the work I do and then pass it on to one of the other panelists?
But also tell us who you are.
Okay. Hi, my name is Shira Dedman. I am the filmmaker of Follow the Drinking Gourd. This film was done quite a while ago. I'm from California. I'm from LA. And just to give you a little bit of background, this film came out of a deep place where I say this, like a deep place where I was radicalized by food, from like just dealing with depression, dealing with all sorts of things. And kind of interesting story is I just kind of remember, I don't know how I say this, like it all being tied to Ferguson and the Ferguson protests, and kind of having this moment where I was, thinking about sort of in a sense, like the difficulties I was facing in like being employed and staying employed, and then thinking about the best way I can put it is, watching the protest, my thought was, what are these people supposed to do? They can't even like feed themselves. And it was like this thought of like feed themselves, and trust me when I say we can go into it, but this was a very important thing even for myself, like a reflection upon myself. And so that's why I said that really I would say cemented like my radicalization around food. And then from there, it's just kind of wild because I live in St. Louis now. I actually volunteered at the Ferguson farmers market. And so this has just been a crazy journey that has just been centered around food. Who do I want? Shahid.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, sure. Thanks so much. I mean, that the only thing that was missing from that film was me. And the reason that I say that is like everything that everybody said, it just spoke to me. It spoke to me because it's the way that I feel. It's, my inspiration was working in, natural food and cooperative retail sector, and just seeing the lack of representation of people who look like me, and becoming so familiar with that environment and acclimating and learning and understanding that culture. And then just realizing like this is just not happening in my community, and talking to people in that sector, the question that I would often ask is why aren't I seeing co-ops in Black communities? Why isn't this a movement? And learning the history that, yeah, they actually were co-ops in Black communities, but to me, the thing that I heard that really sat with me was somebody replied, like, you have to do it. Like, you have to go. These people are not going to come to your community. They're afraid to come to your community. And that was, a little disheartening, but also was very inspiring for me. And so it just caused me to start think about ways. And the simplest way to me, the way that made the most sense, was if we actually started to, in the spirit of the Black Panther Party, it's just like we need to feed the people. We have to feed the people, and we starts with me. And in that case, I kind of left that sector, segued into from growing food in my backyard to doing small scale farming and setting up a CSA to meet the demands of the community, to try to meet the people. I still struggle with it because of lots of different issues, but in terms of understanding like land stewardship, and I named my farm Taylorhood Farms after my maternal great grandfather and great great grandfather, who were post slavery, post Reconstruction occupational farmers. So I named it after them. And it's in their tradition that I want to continue to understand, more about what we do and how we can impact our community and grow more sovereignty around food, because it's our most basic need. And if we don't have control of that, then really what do we have control of? So I'll pass it to Maya.
Yeah, thanks y'all for sharing. And like Shahid said, like, yeah, everything that was spoken in the film really resonated deeply, and will continue to kind of sink deeper as the weeks and months go on. So yeah, my name's Mayam. Any pronouns are fine. I'm currently living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so-called Tiwa territory. We're in Tiwa territory, but I want to acknowledge many things. The name of my farm is Ancestral Acres Farm and Garden. And I chose that name with intention because the main purpose of what I do is to really honor those who come before me and who are also going to continue that process after me. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I come from a family of farmers, generations back. And I also recently found out that my ancestors are from Cameroon, which has filled a deep hole in my heart. So that's kind of the purpose in the name of the farm. And my grandmother is the one who really opened my eyes into the transformational process that it takes to really be in relationship with land and water. And I really owe it all to her. She's the one who got me into this, and she's kind of the reason why I named the farm in that way. And the work that I do is very specific. I consider myself not only someone that grows food that folks can eat and share with one another, but I'm also a steward of seed, as that was uplifted in the video, that keeping seed and sharing seed is of extreme value and importance, because life, no matter if it's a plant, if it's us, it all starts with some sort of seed. So really honoring that process, and then also honoring the nature that the seed does and that it gives so much. So for me, sharing seed is something that is deeply true to my heart, and something that I'm still in practice and process with, because sometimes I'm like swimming in seeds and I'm like, oh, I need to get these out. But it's what I do, and it's my life work and my passion. So yeah, I'm currently in Albuquerque, and I'm continuing that work. So yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. I'll just introduce myself. My name is Sunshine Muse. I run an organization in New Mexico called Black Health New Mexico. Our work is really sits underneath the umbrella of reproductive justice, and obviously food sovereignty, food access, mitigating all of the toxic stress of racism through food, building our immune system so that we can survive in such a hostile environment that we exist in this country. All of that is around the work that we do. And so we got into food work in 2020. We had opportunity to apply for some COVID relief funds, and thought about what we would want to focus on under reproductive justice and reproductive health, and decided that what we wanted to do was make access to good, healthy, free, locally grown, organic and or pesticide free food, make that access just super easy, especially for our elders who are going to be at high risk during COVID. for pregnant people, for single parents. And we didn't want to see them lining up in those crazy grocery lines during COVID. We just wanted to get this food to them, to their doorstep. So we started basically a free CSA, ran it for 16 months. And our second iteration was to figure out how to be sustainable once that funding ran out. And like Madam CJ Walker, we stretched it, $2 in a dream. But what we decided to do was start some community gardens that were focused on Black folks in central and northern New Mexico specifically, and just creating the space for people to grow together, pun intended. So that's the work that I do. And that's who I am. Yay. So Mayim, and then let's just pass it because it does create a really beautiful flow so that we can just keep going in our circle of grace and intention. Where did you see yourself in the film?
Oh my gosh, the kids. The kids are so sweet. And going back to my grandmother, I was that one that was just like really enthusiastic about just all the different ways of being in relationship with land, and then also being excited about it and sharing it. And yeah, I felt like the youth really, really sat with me. And like maybe even touching on my inner child a little bit. So that's where I saw myself in the film. Should I just pass that question on to someone?
Please feel free. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Shahid, yeah, where did you see yourself in?
Got to unmute.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was really overwhelmed because I saw myself in every segment and every aspect. You know, all of those things are things that I do, and it was so inspiring because I feel so alone. Like I'm in southern New Mexico, and there are very few Black people down here, let alone Black farmers, but we have actually a very rich Black farming and agricultural history here that is that's pretty much unspoken. You know, I learned about it just recently myself. And so in so many ways, you know, I do those things. I'm inspired by them to continue to try to work with the community and do outreach and try to find, which I do all of that stuff, but I'm generally doing it with people who don't necessarily look like me. And it's still work that is valuable and very important. But I'm really you know, dedicating this to our people and our heritage. And so it just felt so good to be seeing that actually happen. Like all of those things that I see in that film are the things that I dream of doing, you know. And so thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, yeah, that really inspires me to continue to do what I do. It might also inspire me to relocate, but it definitely inspires me to like continue to do this work that I do because I feel like it's so important.
I guess it's my turn, right? First of all, Shahid, I wanted to tell you when you said that, I totally have been looking more into, and I would say I found it accidentally, about the farming community in New Mexico, the Black farming community in New Mexico. So it's fascinating. So the more you learn, please share with us, because I personally want to know more. It's
Absolutely.
Anyway. And in terms of, I'm not going to say like who I see myself in or something like that. I'm going to answer it into like something somebody said that really resonated with me and inspired me. And that is Mr. Scott. Yeah, Mr. Scott said, gosh, it's weird that my brain can't think of how he said it. But basically he says, you know, there isn't just farming, there's marketing. Like we need to market this, you know, our product. And so for me, that was really important because, I mean, I live right now in an apartment that has, there's not even like space. We try to do this, like in the hallway, there's like a little like flower pot kind of hanging off, and I live like on the second floor. And so we were trying to do like some herbs there, and it got taken over as a, what do you call that? A bird nest. So we're like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Bird, you may keep that nest. So that's to tell you the point. But the reason why I say that is, for me, it made me say, okay, I may not be in a position where I'm like growing food and stuff like that, but there are other things that I can do to support this like food system and food sovereignty and all that stuff. And so what I do is I, first of all, like always go to my farmers, and I make a point of buying from farmers, and always go to my farmers saying, how can I support you? And so anytime, and especially obviously like where I live, I haven't really connected with Black farmers, and trust me, I've tried. And so the I would say the connection mainly I've made has been like through the farmers markets, and then just as a general practice. And I think, obviously the more that we can do that with our Black farmers, where we just say like, how can I support you? And it may not, like we don't all have to grow food. I do think there should be more of us growing food, don't get me wrong, and that we need to be like learning more, and also making sure our youngins are learning. And so that's the best way I can put it, is like that is what has inspired me, and my takeaway from this movie, or having worked on the movie, and really trying to put that in practice. Oh, is there a next question? Sorry. Back to sunshine.
We can imagine ourselves, I don't know, like if we're at a club, we're all like dancing together. I mean, whatever it needs to be, right? Could be a slumber party.
Well, I could say one other thing. Sorry, not to.
Yeah, do it.
I'm not, obviously I can talk a lot if I want to. I mean, I feel like if I need to. But I do want to say this too about Black farmers, and Black farming and Black food systems. I am still obsessed with it. I wrote an article. So since that film and creating the film happened, I went back to school, and I got a Master of Laws in Food and Agricultural Law at University of Arkansas. That's how I ended up sort of out here from California. I ended up in Northwest Arkansas first. And I am constantly just trying to connect with my Black farmers. And literally, even though they're like I said, like in Mississippi, or they're like North Carolina, I always say, how can I support you? So some of them just like want articles, they want more awareness, they want, whatever they can do. So I'm throwing that out there again, just to say that there are so many ways to be supporting our Black farmers. And so if anybody wants to do it, it's just look at, like, even if you can't think of what you can offer them, like just say like, hey, what are ways that you can need support, and hey, these are ways I can need it.
Well, let's pivot. Mayam and Shahid, how can we support you?
How much time you have? I got I think for me, it really is, it is about creating more awareness, and trying to demonstrate to younger people, especially, this opportunity. I mean, the more I do it, the more I grow in my like understanding and knowledge around how much there is to agriculture as an economy. The more I realize that it's really, the what I consider the last frontier. Ironically, is the first frontier, but I mean, it's like that opportunity still really exists for people if they're interested in it. And so I'm always trying to figure out how to make it happen, how to make it something that people are actually, from the producer's perspective, from where I stand, the people that I mostly serve are not people who look like me. And a lot of it has to do with where I am. The demographics are such that there's just not a lot of Black people here. But I'm adjacent to El Paso, and there's a decent sized Black community in El Paso. And I'll say, like, in my CSA, between my 35 to 40 members, since I started doing this in 2017, there was only one Black person that ever subscribed to my CSA. And I've, people know I exist. I've been in the media, I've been in the news, I've had a decent amount of exposure, and I think I have a decent social network. But a lot of that also has to do with creating awareness amongst our people of how important it is to have access, to have food sovereignty and food justice, and to make that a priority and not just accept the status quo.
Amen. I have some ideas for later,
Good. We
offline.
will
Yeah.
talk. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Mayim.
Yeah. So I would like to uplift Leah Penniman's what she was really bringing into the space in the film, and it was just, at least coming from my perspective, and a lot of our younger farmers who are farmers of color, who are Black, it's material resource, right? Like land. If it's not land, it's like sometimes even just infrastructural needs, right? Because a lot of times we're scrounging, we're trying to make a way, right? But sometimes it ain't gotta be that hard. So
Mhm.
I really think like sometimes it's just the material resources, because we're resilient people, but we don't have to scratch and beg and really work so hard when other people have those needs met automatically, right? So I think that requires like a lot of letting go and surrendering from those who have wealth, who have that privilege. But I think specifically as a Black farmer who is landless right now, for me, the biggest need is that aspect of land, because um, there's this deep sense of wanting to grow and wanting to connect with the land, but also knowing that at any point I can be removed, and like having to have this sort of detachment from that space. And that's a hard place to really navigate. So even I had a friend who was like, we really just desire to have this place of belonging, right? Like a sense where we feel like we can belong. And that feels like that's really deep for me. Um, so I think that is like one of the deepest needs. And then also education, like Shahid was bringing up, you know, because there's one thing to really grow like all these specific kind of varieties and things of crops that are native to this area. But if folks don't know anything about it, they're not going to participate in that process. So leaning really into education as a need too. And that starts with all of us. It's not just the farmer. It's also like folks in our community, bringing that awareness into kind of our native and heirloom crops that have been here with us, and moving away from, major corporations and seed companies that are just growing one specific variety of things. So really the educational aspect and material resources is a huge need.
I second
Quick
that.
thing.
Mhm.
Do y'all have websites?
Yes.
Because I think this is my thought as we're talking is not like having a section on the website that says like what the needs are, so that if people end up on your website and they see that the need and they feel like they can meet it, they can send you a note with an offer. You know what I mean? Like hey, these are help. This will help meet us meet our needs. Because I definitely think that one thing that I feel like culturally we have learned is and I get it, but we keep everything so close. So if we have any, we don't speak it. And so I just feel like if we can start to get beyond that and actually start to learn to speak our needs, so that we can start connecting with people who are there to meet them, or help us meet them or help us find the way.
It's really, really interesting. As you speak to that, one of the things that I've learned about myself and others, as I meet people, us not asking for what we need is just one more component of systemic racism that we've ingrained, because we're made to feel like if we ask for something, we're asking for a handout. And the more I learned about this sector, I realized how subsidized agriculture is. And so the narrative is really like, oh, so this is another spend. Like, all right, so all my life I've been like opening these doors and realize that everything that I've been told has been the opposite. And so to find that in agriculture and then myself, like it has been hard for me to ask for things that I need because I didn't want to seem like I had a handout because that's been beaten into our brains, you know, especially as Black men. Um, we want to be independent. We don't want to seem like somebody else is carrying us. And it's only in the last couple of years that I'm getting over that and that's because I realized, like, hold on, what? Like this, here are these people bringing in millions of dollars subsidized, and it's our money, you know, not even, I mean, that's just like, you know, contemporary USDA money, not even bringing up reparations. It's just like, this is just money once again that we're not getting any part of. But still, you know, we have to get over that. We have to get over that ourselves. So I appreciate you bringing it up. And the same, I am land. If we don't have land, I mean, I've been leasing since I've been farming. And you know, that's an issue for me as well. Like anything has happened, like every single time, you know, you're farming somebody else's land. So you're essentially sharecropping and hoping that things continue to go well. You know, I've been fortunate enough to be able to transition or segue out of situations when I've needed to. But at this point, I'm thinking like, all right, you know, I've been hesitant because I didn't want to find myself landlocked before I really understood what I wanted to do with land. And now I have a sense of what that is. There's other, you know, considerations. Some of them have to do with geography. Just like, all right, there's not a lot that's going to change in terms of demographics where I am. But in terms of access to land and still access to, you know, population, it's a really good spot. So I can get cheap land, and I can still work this community, you know. But there's something in myself that I still need to fulfill, and that has to do with being in proximity to people who look like me.
So there's a lot going on in the chat. I also want to uplift the fact that there's a call for a donation for land. So if you're on this call and you have land, I mean, this is the ask. If you're on this call and you can organize with people who have land, it's always 1, 2, 3, no more than 6 degrees of separation, right? So that's the request. The request is access to land. And may not
Water.
be, yeah, and water. Yes. And so it may not be something that you have, but it may be something that you can help bring forward. And I just want to really uplift that. And I really appreciate too that we're thinking in big, honest, vulnerable, authentic ways as opposed to small ways. I once heard someone say the best nation is the donation. So I strongly encourage. And you know, that I have a question around what we're creating. What does growing our own food create for Black people? That's my question. What does growing our own food create for Black people? Anyone on the panel?
Yeah, I mean, I for me, I guess it really just boils down to like empowerment. And that's what it was for me is, you know, I mean, it's for me, it was the focus on food became, like I said, I felt very disempowered. I was in a really low part of my life. And I mean, I was really low and just, it gave me something to hold on to, especially because you know, with that, it came from also like wanting to do something for myself, and to also get my health right. So like I'm super big into health, and I knew that it started with my food. So, and so that's what it was. And then like I realized it transcended, and I guess maybe because we don't realize how important health is. You know, like health, it's all entwined: physical health, mental health, all of that. And so once it was like I started to become like healthy, I I don't know, it just transcended. It's the spiritual, it's unity, it's purpose. So I mean, I guess I don't hope I answered your question. I know it sounded so vague even when I heard myself, but it was true, every word I said.
Health, unity, community. I thought it was very clear.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Anybody else want to tackle that one? Because I have another one.
She covered a lot of ground on that one.
I just want to bring ancestor Fannie Lou Hamer into the space where she said, you know, you can free yourself if you feed yourself. So for me, like those words deeply resonate because it's like almost seeing ourselves as free, right? like when we're able to really be in that deep relationship with the land, we free, you know? So that's so it's like, and not like this sense of like irresponsibility, right? Because there's still that knowledge and that power that we have something to care for, right? And it's something that's even beyond ourselves, it's living, breathing entities. So yeah, growing food is an act of envisioning our future as free people.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Final question before we shift to audience. I actually have two. One is, what's the most important thing that non-Black people in support of Black folks' food sovereignty can do tomorrow? What's the most important thing that non-Black people in support of Black folks' food sovereignty can do tomorrow?
That is such a great question. I have to think about it.
I don't like, just reach out to support us. I mean, really, here's the thing. We just in terms of supporting, just having to eat, you know, just like the elder was saying, like everybody has to eat, right? So working in natural food retail sector for so long and thinking about the whole idea that there were things called food deserts, right? And what I learned is that these other people don't need to reach out to us because we're going to travel to their place because we still need to eat. And so understanding how we have been doing that, I'm just saying, just return the favor, you know, come to our place, support, like people who subscribe to my CSA sometimes. And I'm always surprised, pleasantly surprised that, you know, people who don't ever intend to receive a delivery from me are saying, here, I'm going to subscribe for 12 weeks. You can find somebody who needs it. And they're always right. Like I can always find someone who needs it. And so even distant support is welcome because, you know, you don't have to support me in a way where I'm actually delivering to you. You can actually support me and allow me to reach out to the community that's not reaching out to me, that needs to have access to me. And you can go to my website, taylorhoodfarms.com, to see how you can do that. But I don't have a donate button, and maybe I should. People always ask me about it, and it goes back to that same stigma of like, yeah, I don't want that label, but I need to get over that.
We're going to support you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we can head to audience. Is there anything else that the panel would like to say before we start taking audience questions? Anything you want to add from your hearts, minds, spirits before we switch gears?
Just want to thank Shira so much again for, I know it's a lot of work. I know a project like that done so well, I can only imagine, you know, how much work it took. And so I'm so proud of you and so thankful. And like I say, you're speaking directly to me. You know, I want you to understand, like, it's an inspiration for me to continue just to see those people doing the same work that I'm doing and not to feel, alone in this.
I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you so much. And yes, I'm just going to say it took a lot of work. And it was unfunded work, and it was hard, and I was getting into fights like,
I'm
go to
sure.
sleep,
I'm
why are you
sure.
up all day, this and that, and I'm like, no, it's gotta get done, it will never get done. So
I know.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that's what I'm saying. I just can't wait to hear more about what's happening in New Mexico, because I just appreciate the work that y'all are doing. And I'm lucky. I'm looking forward to hearing more, and obviously if there's anything I can do to support you, I'm putting it out there. I've put it out there. Y'all have my email, you know how to find me.
Yeah, I just want to say again, thank you again, Shira, for just really just painting this beautiful, beautiful picture. And also including the intergenerational storytelling aspect, including all of us in that, it was everyone from the elders to the young, and that's a really important piece. So I just really appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, for Shahid also offering your insight to Ray as someone who's doing this work too, and figuring it out as we go along. And then Sunshine for holding space, and then the work that y'all are doing with Black Health New Mexico, and how y'all are also supporting folks who are going through pregnancy, who are elders, who are trying to get food. All this stuff is very critical in envisioning our future. So I just want to say thanks to y'all for the different ways that y'all get in where you fit in.
Thank you as well.
I'm looking forward to increasing our mutual capacity together. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to cross-pollinating, making sure that you have that donate button, and really going for the big ask, because there's somebody who wants to donate their land, their time. There's somebody who wants to match every CSA box that's paid for a donated box. I mean, all of this is highly possible. Mayim, thanks for holding the spiritual space. Shira, thank you for the movie. And Shahid, come to Central New Mexico. We have a place for you.
Send me the address.
Yeah, we have an address that needs you. I got some board members in this room that are probably like,
Hold on, what is Central?
Albuquerque, Santa Fe area.
Okay, I got you.
But at least we'll bring you down for a visit, okay?
Yeah, I need to get up there more. I need to get up
Yeah.
there more.
Come visit. I'm also going to be leading some workshops, a series of workshops for free on running BIPOC-led nonprofits. So we're going to be talking about all the good stuff around money, structure, money. Okay, how are we doing audience questions? Are they going to be in the chat? We've got about 10 minutes left.
Yes, so we have some comments in the chat. Actually, Cameron Weber says that she has resources for land share, seed swap in Corrales, North Albuquerque. Her email is in the chat if anyone is interested in that. And then a little later, she's also saying a little more about that. She's saying, if you could have one event, so this is a question for the panel, if you could have one event this year, where would it be and what do you want? Seed swap, cookout, Skillshare, work party? Asking, happy to provide resources towards that.
I'd love to see a fundraising event. I think that's really important. And for us to be on the receiving end as guests of honor for that type of event, as opposed to organizers. Again, it's usually 6 degrees of separation or less, but if you all could invite some of your folks, or some of your folks could invite some of their folks, what could happen at a fundraiser that wasn't organized just by Black people, but was at the benefit of Black farmers and growers and food sovereignty activists, I think would be really powerful. So that's the kind of event that I would like to show up to with my colleagues here as a guest of honor to receive.
I'll concur.
I see you, Deja. Maritza. Oh my goodness, it's Maritza. Did you have a hand up?
Yes, I did. Hi, everybody. This was for Shahid Mayam, and I think there was somebody else, Eugene Pickett, and Shahid, you were saying you miss community. And so I feel so blessed to have attended this event, because earlier today, having forgotten about this get together tonight, which I only saw in my calendar because Mama Cat told me about it weeks ago. Long story short, today I was thinking randomly, we need to have a conversation in Albuquerque about exactly what conversation has been about. So I want to extend an invitation, Shahid Mayam, Eugene, for next year, the 2024 Afromundo Festival in Albuquerque, just so that you can speak to community, because you were saying, Shaheen, that you miss people like you, community, and just to talk to community about all these issues that have come up today. And also, I'm trying to remember everybody's name. Shira, I would love to present your film. And just as of last week, we've been figuring out the theme, and really quickly, the theme for next year's Afromundo Festival is Maroons, Rebels, Dreamers, and Visionaries. And so this is such an essential thing to our community. So that's why I didn't put it in the chat. I wanted to extend a personal invitation. And Sunshine, I'll get in touch with you to get all their information, which I think I wrote down, but to plan this, because community needs to know about what you are doing. And so thank you for this event.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Maritza. Yeah, and if someone else would like to speak up, please feel invited. Also, Eugene, I'm seeing your comment. If you wanted to make it here, please feel free.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I just want to, Minor, it's a good idea.
All right. Yeah, Minor, if you want to make your comment, if you can unmute yourself, please feel free to do that.
Miners in the chat mentioning the slow money movement, whereby investors agree to accept very low return over a very long period. And Miner's question is, might that be a mechanism for acquisition? It's very active in Colorado.
Go ahead, Minor.
Hi, folks. I'm Minor here. We have a few other folks that are farmers and farm supporters. Just thought about that idea. It's been around for a few years, again, in Woody Tash, and it's called the slow money movement. And the idea is around farm acquisition, and also building a farm takes many, many years. And so how do you have a financing structure that doesn't just focus on quick returns? And they're talking about, 10, 20-year periods and, 1 to 2 to 3% return. So at those kind of rates, it makes land acquisition possible. So I'm wondering if that's something that might be a possibility. And I know the group is not as active in New Mexico, but they're very active in Colorado.
Yeah, thank you for that, Minor. And Catherine, please unmute yourself. Feel free.
Hello. It's kind of good to see family and friends here. I'm based out of Havana, Cuba. And as I was listening to And I'm considered everybody's grandmother. That's where the mama cat comes from. So listening to the young people talk about their dreams and visions for the work they want to do, I thought about a farm that I saw a couple of months ago in Cuba, where actually the farm fed a town. And it was based on the health issues of the town. They knew exactly how many elders they had. They knew how many people had hypertension, how many people had diabetes. It was just extending the vision of farm to table to actually farm to community. And I'm saying that because I love the way that you're dreaming. And I want you to be able to dream further than you can imagine at this point. The other thing about Cuba is the very first contract that Cuba did with the United States was with the Black farmers. And we have never, I see Eugene Pickett is on this call. I love Eugene Pickett. And we have not implemented that contract yet. So I think it's going to be up to your generation. But I think the most important thing about what I'm saying is that your neighborhood is boundless. Your neighborhood is boundless. So I don't want to be strangers with you now that I know that you're here. And I also want you to come to Cuba and see what people who look like us are doing for us.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Catherine. Does anyone from the panel want to react to this, or any more comments from you?
I'm very inspired by what I've heard from Cuba, and you know, just seeing the sovereignty and independence that I see happening there, and understanding how committed to community the people have to be to make it work. I would love to, and I read years ago that they were really committed to organic. So I thought that was another thing that was very inspiring and interesting. So at some point I would love to come in and see what's going on in Cuba, and to try to extend some level of relationship to the people there, and see if we can, you know, get that bridge built.
When I'm there, I was there last month at this farm. I've been there 21 years with the Cuba U.S. Medical School Scholarship Program. And
Okay.
I had not seen this aspect, but there were people there from all over the world that were looking at organic farming and trying not to be involved with Monsanto. But I did not see one Black person from the United States.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
Are you ready to change that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting because when she said Cuba, I was thinking about Cuba up north.
Oh, there's,
And
yeah.
and I won't go back to that place. I've been through there, and every time I've been through, they give me a ticket. So it's like, but you know, I think those are the kinds of relationships throughout the diaspora that we really need to be investigating and understanding. Looking forward to the future, we just have to be a sovereign people, and in order to do that, we have to work together globally and start to understand where the opportunities really are. You know, if you look at what's going on in Africa with the neo-colonialists from Asia taking over, like all of it is we continue to be somehow, I like to call the vibranium for the rest of the world, and not accepting our own, you know, real strength and potential. Everybody else can see it, but often we don't, you know, and sometimes because we're just too busy working, you know, trying to get out from under the hill. But in reality, you know, if we can just pull together and think about our collective resources and how to make them work to take care of ourselves, like I say, just in understanding agriculture more and more, the pipeline economic opportunities are limitless. There's so many things that we can be doing from planting a seed.
I'd love to end it right there. Are people comfortable with that? Are panelists comfortable with that, everybody?
Yes,
right.
thanks again, everyone.
fine.
This was
Yeah.
awesome. I like kind of like what you said, Sunshine. I'm like, dang, everybody came with like their vulnerability. We had a real conversation. That's dope. I'm like
Yeah.
over here loving life.
Yeah. Yeah.